Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Debby Forman, and I'm here just as a quick intro to tell you a little bit about myself. Well, I think time and space helps a lot. So what have I done over the last 56 years? I was born in San Diego, California as an American citizen. When I was in my teens, I studied abroad, both in Australia and in Spain. And in 1989, that's a long time ago, I moved to Brazil. And I was in Brazil as a permanent resident from 1989 to 2023, which is the bulk of my life, my entire adult life. In Brazil, where my entire adult life took shape. My first jobs were in multinationals. I worked at United Airlines. I worked for other American corporations. And then I realized that working for an American multinational was not meant for me. I felt that there were too many gaps in the understanding of a multinational, an American multinational, being in Brazil. And there were gaps in culture, gaps in lifestyle, gaps in the way that people get things done. The hardships at the time as a developing nation that Brazil was going through, which was so much easier for people in the United States. And I started looking at those gaps and said, how do we fill those? How do we make things come together with people from around the world in the most diverse circumstances? And so I went on a 33-year journey. I became an entrepreneur. I started up my own business, specialized consulting in what? Gap filling. The thing is, I've always been behind the scenes. I've been behind the scenes with individuals like you, individual people that are like, how do I get past these gaps that hinder my progress? And then we took those individual cases and started putting together a systemic framework. We brought this to individuals like you, one by one. And I realized that I can't tackle a person by a person by a person if I want to make a global impact. So some 25 years ago, started creating framework and processes that would be able to bring this into larger organizations, non-for-profits, schools, school districts, learning environments, startup ecosystems, and then also mentoring. Through those frameworks and all of the framework we developed, my projects started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'd walk into an environment with a team and we would come in and we would tackle all the different layers where gaps hinder progress. But gaps hinder progress from the beginning, from the person, from each individual. And then we started to have to look at this again. If we're going to tackle this on a global scale, then I needed to rework because I was creating a gap in my own purpose, my own mission, the impact that I want to live and that I want to leave. So we went back to the drawing board. The thing is, I've always been behind the scenes, and being behind the scenes started to hinder my progress, specialized in gaps. Because there was a gap between being known and being seen. Being seen in today's world is here on YouTube, social media. Being seen and being accessible means that we had to have digital content, ways and means that don't cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, like right now, $90. I mean, things like that. But how do I do that? How do I bring it to you in bite-sized pieces, whether you're in a developing nation, an undeveloped region, a vulnerable region, or in the most modern tech society possible? How do you do this when there's gaps in geography, social economics, skills, abilities, knowledge, access to knowledge? Well, it took us nearly 2 years to put it all together, and we launched it on February 12th. But who am I? I'm a mom to a 15-year-old. I'm a daughter to aging parents. I'm a team leader for those that I work with. I'm a follower. I'm a lifelong learner. Yeah, I'm addicted to lifelong learning. I'm a cat lover. I like dogs too, but cats are my thing. I'm a coffee addict. Yep, big thing. Gotta have my coffee throughout the day. Drink tea too, but it's coffee. I live a healthy lifestyle. I swim, I do Pilates. I'm handicapped. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Through this channel, I'm gonna be bringing you my journey in gap filling, my journey as a professional, my journey as an individual that applies those same methodologies to all of the moments in my life where gaps begin to get me. Gaps are taboo. They get swept under the carpet. We're going to talk about those taboos. We're going to talk about the fact that throughout life, when we're young, we feel like there's a purpose that we're here. And as time goes on, that purpose kind of dwindles out. How do we get back to that purpose and be able to support ourselves and our families? How do we confront the difficulties when we know that we're being distanced? Because a gap is a distance. It can be a distance in skills. It can be a geographical distance. It can be in social economic. It could be a huge event that happens, like we just had the LA fires. Whatever it is, those gaps usually are dealt with in a patchwork. They're not dealt with holistically, systemically. And so I'm here to show you and to bring to you simple but not easy. And let me repeat that, simple but not easy framework, processes, methodologies, lessons, real life cases, voices, stories, narratives. And that's going to happen here on YouTube. It's going to happen on my LinkedIn. It's going to happen on my Instagram. But most of all, it happens on the GAP TRAX platform, where you can go on and take a course with 24 lessons, 4 tracks, 24 lessons that don't take up more than 5 hours at a price you will find nowhere else on the planet. One of the gaps that I'm afraid of, and I get afraid all the time. Don't think that just because I do this, I don't get scared. I'm scared. I'm scared that I am striving for more than I'm going to be able to achieve. Butterflies in my tummy. I want to impact 100 million people. And I set a goal to try to do that in a year. It's going to be hard, nearly impossible. We launched on February 12th. Today's February 28th. And we still have less than 10,000 people on our platform. Am I going to make it? Or have I created a gap for myself? Come, join the journey and help me fill my own gaps by learning through you. A little bit more about myself. I'm a macro manager. I see things in the macro. I do not have micro skills. I've learned them, but they're not natural to me. Because to be able to run an enterprise or a company, you need to learn all the little bits and pieces, but I'm not good at them. So I have learned how to take those gaps that I have in my own skills and my own abilities and to bring qualified people to help fill those gaps and to boost the learning process. I'm like a drone. I wear myself out. I'll go really, really high. I'll be flying up in the sky. I'll look at everything that needs to be done. And then I forget that I have a battery that's going to run out. And sometimes I come crashing down. I do a lot in a day, a lot more than most people. And I know I shouldn't. I go for swims in the afternoon. I do my Pilates 6:30 in the morning, twice a week. Not easy for me. I'm not a morning person, but I have to be because I have to get my daughter to school. I'm an active mom. I'm a gym mom. And right now, in my personal life, now that we're getting GAP TRAX out to you, one of the gaps that I have is that I haven't been living my own adult life for the last 2 years since I moved back to California. I've been living the work life, I've been living the mom life, I've been living the daughter life, but I haven't been living my life. And now it's time for me to do that and close those gaps that I have sheltered myself from to be able to bring this whole project to life and to readjust to being in the United States. And that's one of the things I really want to talk about. The gaps, the cultural gaps that I've been feeling since I've been here. I came and went over 35 years, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but I didn't live here. I didn't reside here. And everybody thinks California, whoa, it's so modern. Brazil, developing nation. Brazil's so much more modern. And I started getting stuck in these ruts. Like, why isn't it like this? I have to adapt. I have to reskill myself to be able to thrive in the environment that I'm in. So I apply GAP TRAX to myself also. Here's another thing about me. Right now, I'm really tired. I'm doing more than I should. But just because I'm tired doesn't mean that I'm not enthralled, that I'm not motivated, that I'm not capable. But it does mean that if I'm not careful, I'm going to wear myself out. So it's time for me to take all those lessons in GAP TRAX and reboot with you.